Hi. No. I'm service chair today. Yeah. Ah, thank you, you too. Welcome to our service today. My name is Mia Stout. Service will begin now with Kancho, followed directly with chanting of Jusege on page 93 of your service book.
Navanda. 가곤초세가 희시무조도 시강후만족 세후조쇼각 가오무료고 의이다이세슛 후사이쇼빙긋 세후조쇼각 가시조분도 묘쇼초지법 극교미셔멈 세후조쇼각 리역진쇼냄 조회시봉교 시그무조도 이쇼텐린심 진리기 義現代公不詳無才道少女三苦名交際主役難回避地平原滅死公門案閉塞小悪道通達全宗門高僧上満足いよろじぽ道が主樹期天候本普賢一種解放像公正苦読法情報大集中説法ししく供養一切仏具足習徳本元年信条満徳意三害法如仏無下地通達未不詳願学へ力投資最小尊志願略国家大戦王感動国書天にとうち妙見ナマンダブナブナマンダブナマンダブナマンダブナマンダブがんにしくどく病道性祭道本母大心お上安楽ナマンダブナマンダブナマンダブナマンダブナマンダブナマンダブナマンダブナマンダブナマンダブ
Please stand for the singing of Namo Amida Butsu on page 96 of your white Gatha book.
Go ahead.
Please remain standing and turn to page 10 in your service book for the reading of the threefold refuge. Difficult is it to receive a human form. Now we are living it. Difficult is it to hear the Dharma of the Buddha. Now we hear it. If we do not cross over to the truth in the present life, and what life shall we cross over? Let us with sincerity and true reverence take refuge in the three treasures of the truth. I take refuge in the Buddha. May we, together with all sentient beings, awaken to the great way of enlightenment and to the unsurpassed intent of Amida Buddha. I take refuge in the Dharma. May we, together with all sentient beings, enter the storehouse of the Dharma, becoming like the wisdom ocean. I take refuge in the Sangha. May we, together with all sentient beings, become units in true accord, in harmony with all things. The peerless, profound, and wondrous Dharma is rare to encounter, even in many hundreds and thousands of kalpas. Now we are privileged to hear and receive it. Let us thoroughly understand the true meaning of the Tathagata's teaching. Namo Buddhassa. Please be seated. Sorry. Today's Family Dharma message will be given by Minister's Assistant Irene Goto.
Please join me in Gassho to listen to a passage from Master Shinran Shoshin Nembutsuge. And when he reaches that lotus-held world, he immediately realizes the body of suchness or Dharma nature. Then sporting in the fields of blind passions, he manifests transcendent powers, entering the garden of birth and death, as he assumes various forms to guide others. Tokushi rengezo sekai sokusho shinyo hosho jin yubon no ringen jinzu nyu shoji no ji oge. Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu. Good morning, everyone. Today is the last day of June 2019. Half the year has already passed. Today is the official last day of celebrating the Pride Month. And after service, Mia and I will run down to 4th Avenue in Madison to catch up with our temple's unit number 80. So I would like to kind of introduce next month, which is starting of the Obon season, which happens usually in July and August. First, I want to kind of give you a history of Obon here at our temple. As early as 2002, 1902, when we received our first minister, the board was so happy to have heard the news that he's coming that they actually danced Obon for that occasion. This is documented in Ron Magdan's book, The History of Our Temple, Mukashi Mukashi. And when he arrived finally in, when Reverend Yoshio Iwanaga arrived in 1932, which seems to be the official start of our Bon Odori, 2,000 people showed up, so they were very happy. And then in 1933 and 1934, they continued with Obon Odori. And then in 1935, it happened on the same weekend as the Native Americans' potlatch. And that seemed to be a good cooperation with each other. And 12,000 people showed up for that. In 1967, the Bon was scaled back a bit because of racial tensions in this area and actually across the country. In 1968 and 1969, it was canceled because of race riots. And Sat Ichikawa was the chairman at that time, and maybe you can ask him how that was. But it resumed in 1970 with Sat chairing, and they decided to have the Obon indoors. But I guess because of rain, not too many people showed up, and so they had to do Obon one more day to sell out the food. So they had Obon extended into Monday. Does that sound familiar, Sat? Okay. So that's a little history of Bon Odori. So we are having our 87th Bon Odori this year. I enjoy the Obon season, perhaps not as much as Ron Hamakawa does. I mainly enjoy it for the dancing, the music, the gathering of joy, kangie, as it is also known. And let me explain the words. Obon, the O is honorific. It's a prefix. Bon is short for urabon, the Japanese transliteration of the Sanskrit ulambana, and it means deliverance from suffering or deliverance from being hung upside down. Ulambana comes from the Ulambana Sutra. So Bon or Obon is the observance of honoring our ancestors by remembering them and joyfully saying thank you to them for our lives today. The first Obon after the year a loved one dies is called Hatsubon, meaning first Obon, and is specially and solemnly observed in service. This year here on Sunday, July 14th. So Hatsubon will be 2 weeks from today. I think Obon is what the passage from the Shoshinge that I read in the beginning is what Obon is about. My understanding of this passage, which is attributed to Master Vasubandhu, is that when we entrust ourselves in the primal vow, or rather that when the primal vow catches us, we will surely go to the Pure Land after death. And from the Pure Land, by various means, we will enjoy guiding others to the Pure Land who are still suffering in this world. During Obon, I am being reminded that I am being guided by my ancestors, that I am being affected by the interdependence of all things. I am being shaped by Amida Buddha's infinite compassion and inconceivable wisdom, that what I am doing is because of the causes and conditions laid down before me by as many as 2 billion parents, unknown to me, starting with my parents and their parents and so on up the genealogy chain. The passage that I read reminds me that I am not here of my own making and my own doing. So today I would like to share with you just a few bits of my joy for Obon. The Obon season starts out solemnly, usually in July or August, with visits to grave sites of our loved ones. In Japanese, the visit is called ohakamairi. However, it is my family's custom to visit on Memorial Day instead of on Obon. You might recall Reverend Castro's questioning why that is the case for a number of Japanese American Buddhists. He referred to the July 2001, or I referred to the July 2001 Wheel of the Sangha newsletter, where Reverend Castro wrote an article entitled, "Announcing the End of Bon Odori." He was referring to an article in the Seattle PI, apparently written in 1908, a few years after Bon Odori started in Seattle, or at least Obon started. The article described Bon Odori as Japan's All Saints' Day and that it corresponded to Memorial Day here in the United States. The article said, local Japanese state that as they are residents and citizens of this country, and many of them are Christians, they observe the American days, not the holidays of their native country, and not the feast days of the Buddhist religion. They decorated the graves of their dead on May 30th, and so they will not observe the Obon festival. That was the end of the quote. The Yakima Buddhist Church also decorates the graves of the Japanese in that area on Memorial Day, and not on Obon necessarily. Anyway, regardless of that near end of Bon Odori, this year, some 80 years later, we are celebrating our 87th Bon and Obon Odori because of our devoted Buddhist ancestors, interdependently with relatives and friends, Buddhists and non-Buddhists alike. When I went to Japan 6 years ago for the first time in 40 years, it was with my son, and we had the opportunity to visit my great-grandparents' grave sites on both sides of my family cemeteries. For my son, he was visiting his great-great-grandparents' graves. Both cemeteries were quite new because the cemeteries had to be relocated, one due to the construction of a railway, the other due to housing development. Some headstones were preserved. They were very old, disfigured due to the weather of time. We lit bundles of incense, put our hands together in gassho, and said Namo Amida Butsu. My son was particularly moved that he was in the presence of his ancestors. I think he realized he was living his life due to the many causes and conditions and many people. That was Ohaka Mairi for me and my son. At that time, it was not Obon season, but it was still a moving experience. The knowledge of where I come makes me feel more validated. After gravesite visits and services, Bon Odori begins. Bon Odori is a spiritual activity in which we just dance without fretting over how we look, not showing off our ability. Reverend Mas Kodani says, dance just as you are with no conniving, no calculating, no image protecting or flaunting. But he points out, most of us would rather practice before we feel we're ready to dance in front of others. We'd rather practice in much the same way that we rehearse really living and only end up watching life go by. Just dance, just be in every moment, and you will feel true fulfillment and pure egoless joy. When I dance, I think of my dad and how he loved to dance. I thank Amida Buddha and Dad for this life. Reverend Mas Kodani points out that the memory of deceased loved ones should urge us to awaken to our deluded lives and live fully in truth reality today. I am grateful that Seattle Betsuin is holding its 87th Bon Odori. Had I not experienced Bon Odori as a girl from a small town, I might not have known about this temple to bring my own children. It is to the many members of this temple that have kept the tradition going that I give thanks, and for the cooperative interdependence from you, from us all, that makes everything come together. I am looking forward to another season of Kangie gathering, and I trust that when I reach the Pure Land and return to this suffering world, I will joyfully guide others to the land of bliss, to the Pure Land. Please join me in Gassho as I read once again that verse from the Shoshin Nembutsuge, written by our master Shinan Shonin in the year 1224. Tokushi renge zo sekai, sokusho shinyo hosho jin, yubon no ringen jinzu, nyu shoji onji oge. And when he reaches that lotus-held world, he immediately realizes the body of suchness or dharma nature. Then sporting in the forests of blind passions, he manifests transcendent powers, entering the garden of birth and death. He assumes various forms. Namo Amida Butsu. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Irene Sensei, for your Dharma message. Please stand and together recite the Jodo Shinshu Creed found on your handout. It should be close to the cover there on our pledge. Okay. Breaking out of my shell, I will share a warm smile and speak gentle words, just like the kind Buddha, not becoming lost in my greed, anger, and ignorance. I shall think and act with an open mind, just like the calm and peaceful Buddha. Not putting myself first, I will share in the joy and sadness of others, just like the compassionate Buddha. Realizing the gift of life I have received, I shall strive to live each day to its fullest, like the Buddha who tirelessly works to liberate all. Namam Davits, Namam Davits, Namam Davits. Please remain standing for the Gatha, We Are One, found on page 150 of your white Gatha book. You may be seated. This concludes live streaming of our service today. To those who have joined us on the internet, thank you. Please join us again next Sunday, and have a good day and happy Pride. Now we'll have a special presentation by Reverend Kusunoki.